They have views that conflict and contradict with this. Do we go with the 1891 view, or do we go with the first, second, and third century views? I'd say we have to go with the first, second, and third century views, which are closer to the original source. So if Jesus hadn't suffered, would they have believed it? I guess so. Yeah, who knows? So the Council of Ariminum, or Rimini, back to Britannica. So the Council of Ariminum, also known as the Council of Rimini, in 359 AD, this was one of several 4th century church councils that were concerned with Arianism. And here things took a step backwards. It was called the Pro-Arian, so this was called by the Pro-Arian Roman Emperor Constantinus II. Pardon me, I believe he's the son of Constantine. And this was held in Rimini, Italy. There were 400 bishops of the Western Roman Empire, with the Eastern bishops simultaneously meeting at Seleucia, now Turkey, right? The majority of bishops were Orthodox, and they accepted the faith of Nicaea. The Arian minority, however, were very skilled diplomats. They were very good speakers. They were sophists. They were really good with words, and they understood the value of having really good oratorical skills. And they successfully they reversed the Orthodox decision of the majority from the Council of Nicaea when they got to speak to the emperor. So the Orthodox bishops remaining at Ariminum were forced to recant and subscribe to an Arian creed that was drawn up at Nice in Thracia. So Pope Liberius, who was Pope from 352 to 366, who was, as you know, the popes of the Antichrist, and they have some strange pagan religion, he broke from the mold and repudiated this creed and declared the Council of Ariminum without authority. So the church went against the state here and said, hold on, you guys are wrong, these Arians are wrong, the emperor is wrong, this is the gospel truth, this is the doctrine, this is the orthodoxy. In 355, Liberius was one of very few bishops who refused to sign the condemnation, imposed at Milan by imperial command upon all Western bishops. So, we went from the Nicene Creed to the orthodoxy of Christian belief to a reversal of the Nicene Creed. Did you guys know about this council? So that was reversed, and Arianism actually became dominant. Arianism gained huge political power. And yes, there would be Protestants, I guess, like proto-Protestants, that were protesting against the orthodoxy. So this concept of protesting against the orthodoxy of the church, of orthodoxy, goes way back. Constantinus exiled Liberius to Beroe, or modern Greece. And the Arian archdeacon Felix, he appropriated the papacy for a time. So then the papacy was taken over by an Arian, right? This would not be the same as the Orthodox papacy, of course, but because the Pope was evicted from his seat, then this guy stepped in, but he didn't last very long, fortunately. Sound like, okay. So, Irenaeus versus nonsense. So we're nearly done, just a few more pages to go. But hopefully you guys are learning something. I mean, what are you getting from this, right? Hopefully, this is not a hugely deep dive. I mean, it's meant to provide lots of history, but it hopefully gives you an overview of horses. I did not know this. Thank you for the enlightenment. Yeah, so Vegetal says, Protestants today are all over the place, from almost Orthodox to straight-out New Age heretics. Yes, Gnostics, effectively. So Irenaeus says, we have judged it well to point out, first of all, in what respects the very fathers of this fable differ among themselves, as if they were inspired by different spirits of error. Now, name me a religious group under the Christian banner that differ among themselves, that have contradictory doctrines, that don't agree on a lot of things. That, yeah, I wonder if you can think of anything, might come to mind. And he says, this very fact forms an a priori proof that the truth proclaimed by the church, and he means here the Catholic Church, is immovable. In other words, there's one universal church, one Catholic Church, with one truth, not a bunch of churches with a bunch of conflicting, quote-unquote, truths. He says, the truth proclaimed by the church is immovable, and that the theories of these men are but a tissue of falsehoods. And this is Irenaeus in Against Heresies 195. If you guys click the link, you'll find this is really the Gnostic Society Library. There's a full write-up here. This is actually quite interesting. It's worth looking through. This is Irenaeus Against Heresies. Definitely worth looking at. All right. What am I implying, Lloyd? Well, I've often said things very bluntly. I don't necessarily imply things. I say them outright. So Gnosticism mined a vast array of religions and philosophies from the East and the Near East, Europe, and North Africa. So Gnosticism was taking ideas from all over the place and just smooshing them together, very much like what Islam did.